Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you.
Mr. Johnson, as you may be aware, the Attorney General of my state, Oklahoma, has sued a number of poultry companies for the natural resource damages under CERCLA. Because of the downstream liability concerns for smaller contract poultry producers, this case has caused many in my state to question whether manure is really a hazardous substance within the definition of pollutant or contaminant under CERCLA. I personally think we should see if there are ways to ensure environmental protection without the default assumption being that the courthouse is the first stop in these efforts. I have two questions for you, sir.
Yes.
First, I understand that you testified before the House Appropriations Committee about an administrative effort the EPA was undertaking in regard to animal waste and CERCLA. Could you please explain that effort and its scope for me? Second, if my state, Oklahoma, is successful in its suit and other parties use the courts to establish that manure is a constituent or a pollutant or contaminant under CERCLA, could you please explain the enforcement predicament that this would place on the agency? How much would EPA have to increase enforcement staffing and funding to patrol farms and EPA has historically, as a group, not considered an environmental threat?
Well, thank you. Again, our interest is to make sure we're providing environmental protection at the same time supporting agriculture. In the case of the comment that I made is that yes, we will be proposing a regulation that would exempt air releases from animal waste from CERCLA emergency notification requirements. We have heard from our 26 state emergency planning commissions that they believe that it's a waste of their time to hear a report from an emergency because there's a farm, if you will, nearby. And so we are going to be proposing a regulation that does not exempt farms from regulation under CERCLA. It does not exempt farms from regulation under the Clean Air Act. And of course we have an ongoing science process to better understand what the air emissions may or may not be from agriculture, and we are looking to try to have effective regulations that are efficient, at the same time focusing on where problems may be and not where they're not. And so soon we'll be having that draft regulation coming out for public comment.
All right, and I'll tell you, what I'm really interested in is, and I've been, for 5 years I've been here, is we have a problem with the poultry industry. We're downstream from them, and they've been dumping litter and runoff and all that, and we've had best management practices at the state, which haven't really helped that much. I'll tell you what's frustrating, sir, is that as EPA will come down in our area if someone has, let's say a developer has some silt fences that aren't working and someone calls, well, Region 6 people will come up and find those builders. But they will not get involved in this thing. And I think the EPA is the Environmental Protection Agency for the entire United States. And what they say is that you need to work this out. Well, you wouldn't tell a developer and someone complaining about those silt fences failing, you'd come up and find them. Well, how come the EPA has not gotten involved in this effort? Why don't they step in and try to do something about this? Because my city of Tulsa is looking at changing and redoing their water supply. It's going to cost hundreds of millions of dollars to do that. And our lakes and streams are terrible. I don't know if you've seen them, but you can't even see your foot if you're standing in 4 inches of water. And it's just absolutely atrocious that nothing's been done. And can you answer that, why the EPA will not get involved? They say, you guys figure it out.
Yeah. Let me ask Ben Grumbles, who's the head of our water program, who can give you a good up-to-date report.
Congressman,
is the problem too big for the EPA?
The problem is, particularly in an interstate context, it involves a great degree of collaboration. EPA As I know you know, when you first came to Congress and I met with you to respond to and address various concerns, we have a couple key areas where we are involved, and Congressman, we commit to continue to stay involved and to help work out the water quality standards issue, for one, about when there are different standards for different states, upstream, downstream, it's important for EPA to be involved in that. In the context of runoff or non-point source pollution, the way the Clean Water Act is written, it really does put a greater role for the states. There is not a federal EPA regulatory role, but that doesn't mean we don't step up and help through science and through a collaborative process. There's also the watershed approach, the planning that I know is a focus for us to work with you and your constituents and the upstream constituencies. I also would say that when there are large CAFOs, it is important to regulate them, and that's why we're committed to finalizing a regulation on nitrogen and phosphorus under the Clean Water Act for concentrated animal feeding operations, including poultry.
Okay. Gentleman's time has expired.
Well, we really need your help.
This time the chair will recognize Mr. Stupak, the gentleman from Michigan, for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I believe it'd be 8 minutes. So
Did you waive originally, or you claimed the time you sat in the chair?
No, I didn't give an opening.
Oh.
But I'll take 2 minutes for being in the chair, so I should be up to 10 minutes.
I think we're going in the wrong direction, Mr. Stupak. Gentleman's recognized for 8 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.